Good morning, and thank you for joining me for today's midweek reflection. A week ago we began the season of Lent, and particularly those of us who are perhaps in the more Catholic tradition of the Church. Often when we think of Lent, we often think of the idea of taking on some kind of a penance. Lots of people do in Lent. And this is quite a good and a really worthwhile practice. But I always say it's quite important to remember that it's not an end in itself. There's a rather nice Jewish story which I've told many times about a very earnest, very serious young man who went to visit a much older, very famous rabbi. And this earnest young man, he told the rabbi that he wanted to become a rabbi himself, and he wanted to ask for the older man's advice. The visit was happening in the winter time, and the rabbi stood at the window looking out into the yard while this young man gave him a glowing account of all of his great piety and his learning. And the young man said to the old rabbi, he said, "You see, Rabbi, I always dress in spotless white like the sages of old. I never drink any alcoholic beverages. Only water ever passes my lips. I perform numerous penances." And he said, for instance, "I always carry sharp-edged nails inside my shoes to mortify me." And he said, "Even in the coldest weather, I lie naked in the snow to punish my flesh. And to complete my penance, I take a dozen lashes every day on my bare back." Well, as this young man was speaking, a stable boy led a white horse into the yard and took him to the water trough. And the horse drank his fill of water, and having done so, rolled in the snow, as horses often do. And the rabbi said, "Look at that! That animal too is dressed in white. It also drinks nothing but water. It has nails in its shoes, and it rolls naked in the snow. And rest assured, it gets its daily ration of lashes on the rump from its master. Now I ask you, is it a saint or is it a horse?" It's a fun little story, but the point that the rabbi was making was a quite serious one, is that the penance cannot be an end in itself. What then is its purpose? Well, it's certainly not about somehow erasing or undoing the past. We can never do that. The past is gone, it's finished. Nor is a penance meant to somehow persuade God that he'll kind of let us off. He'll forgo a punishment for things that we think we've done wrong, that we might think we deserve. I suppose the first thing that we do when we undertake some kind of penance is an acknowledgement that we're fallen human beings. And the second thing is expressing clearly a desire for change, a desire to want to make better choices in our lives. The whole object of a penance is to reform our way of life. Penance is a kind of exercise in choosing to say no to ourselves. It's intended to show that we're capable of better things and that we sincerely want those things. We want to reform our lives, but we know that we can't do so without God's grace. And its purpose is to acquaint us with our better side, is to say that I'm not a bad person, but I can do things better. It means taking a step in the right direction. If you think about it, when people prune a fruit tree, they're not doing it to punish the tree. They're doing it to make the tree more fruitful. And so, in a way, the idea of our penances is to have as their goal to lead us to a new and to a better way of life. And surely Lent provides us with the most wonderful opportunity to look at ourselves and see how we can try to become better followers of Jesus Christ. Our hymn for today is Jesu, Lover of My Soul.